Hello and welcome to Pierre the Chef. This is episode number 30, unless I'm counting incorrectly or Steve's counting incorrectly, which we did on purpose one time. But this is Pierre the Chef. It's me, Christopher. I'm here with my good friend Steve.
Hello.
And our third member is once again mysteriously absent. I haven't heard anything from him this time. I haven't been able to get in touch with him, so I think it's going to be the two of us again.
Well, okay, so you're referring, of course, to Pierre
Of course.
of the chef fame. Uh, Pierre's not here, and I know that.
Really?
He's not. I know. I even put up my Christmas lights, and he didn't show up. Uh,
Is French Christmas on a different date? So like Russian Christmas?
do they? Yeah. Is it like one of those deals where they wait until January or something, or is it like
I don't know.
Did they? I mean, I know they canceled all the old holidays with the French Revolution, but they did. I mean, did they ever bring them back?
We're products of the American education system. How the hell would we know?
I don't know. Because I mean, I learned that from watching the History Channel.
Yeah,
I never.
before 9/11, I learned that the longest military engagement that America had ever been involved in was Vietnam, and I learned that from the book Dave Barry Turns 50. So
Good source.
You take your knowledge where you can find it.
It's a good source. It's a good source. Yeah, no. So the reason Pierre isn't here is because, and I know this is kind of a sore subject for you at the moment.
Oh, really?
Yeah, well, because we talked about this before, and I know this is something that annoys you, and I guess Pierre is contributing to this. I don't know if he realized what he was doing or not, but the reason that Pierre cannot be with us today is that he is in the process of finalizing preparations to start his own streaming service.
No
And
shit.
and I know that you have
His own
voiced.
streaming service.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, you have voiced to me your
Pierre is going to
annoyance.
have a streaming service.
He is starting. I do not have any clue as to the content.
Oh, I'm sure that the holdup is that he can't get rights to everything that Gordon Ramsay has ever done.
Probably, I bet that's a big because that the Ramsey stuff. I mean,
His own streaming service.
That's what he told me. That's
I
what
mean,
he told
higher than normal. That's more ambitious than he normally gets.
me. Well, so yeah, and
Let me guess. It's a for-pay streaming service.
well, yeah. You're not who starts a free streaming service?
No one.
No one.
Everyone starts their service, and you got to pay $10 a month, and we're back to cable, only worse.
Isn't it funny how that's worked out? I mean, I know this is mostly you wanted to talk about this, but like that does seem to be the direction we're heading because next year HBO is starting. It's called HBO Max. It's basically the Warner Brothers one. You know, it's going to have all the Warner Brothers stuff on it. And NBC is starting one called Peacock. CBS
Really?
already has one.
Yeah.
And
But,
so it's
and
basic.
Star Trek has a series that's going into its third season, and most people don't even know it exists, and it could never be as popular as the Next Generation or even Voyager because nobody can fucking see it because you got to pay money specifically. You can't just be flipping through the channels and see it. Go, oh, I'll give this a shot.
Yeah. But if you do pony up the money to watch it, it is quite good. Yeah, so yeah, we went from what a couple years ago it seems like where we had Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and everybody was like this is pretty cool.
Oh,
And
but
yeah.
you know what happened? Actually, my wife read something about this. There were rules in place that the distributors and the producers couldn't be the same company. If you
Okay.
made the material, you couldn't be distributing it like that. That's why you have sort of the studios make the film and then sell it to the networks. There's a separation there. Netflix actually got that overturned so they could do original programming and show it on Netflix. But once that was overturned, CBS and Disney and so on all had the opening to create their own streaming service because now they were free to do their own distribution platform, despite the fact that they're making the material too. So
Good job,
Netflix,
Netflix.
yeah, they meant well, but it kind of backfired spectacularly, I would say.
Well, for us, yeah, and kind of for Netflix too, because I mean, I think the big one that is going to hurt Netflix is Disney, because not only does Disney's streaming service have a ton of stuff on it, but it's $7 a month. And I think that the main reason I was wondering, because, not last year, but earlier this year when Disney announced that Disney Plus was going to be $7 a month, I was like, how the fuck are they going to do that? Because Netflix is like $15 a month. And I think Hulu, if you get the commercial free plan, is like $13 or $14 a month.
But Disney is big enough that they can eat the money in the early going.
Well, there's that. And there's also the fact that Disney already owns the library outright. Like, Disney doesn't have to pay Disney for the rights to stream Disney movies, right, or Star Wars movies or Marvel movies, or because it owns everything. So it has this massive, like, pre-existing catalog that it can just put up for free
by pulling it off Netflix.
Yeah, exactly. And so we were
at Thanksgiving. They tried to put Moana on to keep the kid entertained, and found out, oh, that's not on Netflix anymore because now it's on Disney Plus.
Yeah. $7, please. Mickey Mouse actually comes to your house and goes, $7, please.
Pirating is going to rise as the number of pay streaming services rises.
Well, because that's the main reason why I think it rose in terms of TV. Why it rose before, because of cable. I mean, if there's like a hot new show that's on HBO or Showtime and you don't feel like buying HBO or Showtime, then, oh, hey, internet, oh, look, the whole thing is here, for free. And now it's going back in that same direction where everything's splintering back up again. And it's like, fuck, I might as well, most cable packages now, like, either include DVR or a certain amount of on-demand programming that are just part of the package. I mean, you might as well just sign up for cable again if you're going to have to sign up for like 10 different streaming services anyway.
Right. And then, and the cable became burdened with all sorts of nonsense because every station that that a cable company has, the cable company has to pay. And so subscribers pay a certain amount for each channel in there. So, I mean, even if it's only 10 cents a month, 10 cents of your bill is going toward each of those stations that are just garbage, that are just there. Basically, there's a lot of TV stations that aren't there to fill any need. They're just there to fill out the package to make money, to make you pay more. And so that was where a lot of the frustration with cable and even later with satellite came from. The bloat in the package that you're getting 600 channels, but 400 of them are nothing but garbage.
Right. That you've
400 that no one would ever reasonably watch under any circumstance.
There are channels I'm sure that no one has ever watched.
And you find something on the rare occasion that some of those stations you're flipping through and you get bored, or there's something that's interesting or looks interesting briefly, and you start watching it, and every commercial break is the same 3 commercials played twice.
Yeah. I have. I subscribe to Sling because I'm a cord cutter. And Sling is like basically it's like a streaming live TV package. And it's basically basic cable. It's like basic cable, but you get it through the internet, and and I think it's like $25 a month or something like that. And
of course it is.
I should know exactly. I should know off the top of my head exactly how much it costs because I pay the bill. But and that's the same way. Like they'll have when it goes to commercial on Sling, it's like the same commercial for some kind of medication with a name that sounds like an alien planet in a 1940s sci-fi pulp story. Zilvafab or something, and it's that same commercial played like twice in a row, and then there's like an Uber commercial, and then the pill commercial again. It's like, Jesus Christ.
And if the pill commercial plays enough that you can memorize all the side effects.
Yeah.
It's a 1 minute commercial, and 40 seconds are somebody speed reading the side effects.
And you memorize it, and then reciting it together becomes a family tradition. Come on, kids. The Zilvafab commercial is on. No. The congestive heart failure comes before spontaneous human combustion, not after. It's okay, honey. It's only your 11th time watching it. You'll get it. I remember when my dad and I first watched the Zilva-Fab ad. I thought I would never memorize all of those side effects and in the proper order, but eventually I did.
And then they updated them.
Yeah, then they added side effects.
Yeah, but remember, most were mild or moderate.
Ah, yes. I love when they throw in like it most because it's side effects.
And the last one, they sneak in sudden death.
Yeah, it's like, wait a minute, is that like a serious possibility? You had to mention it. I assume it's a serious possibility.
Well, I'm told that one of the things is that if that anything that happens while you're doing the test on the drug has to be included in the symptoms, even if it obviously didn't happen like that.
Right.
Like there can be concern about brittle bones or something that can weaken bone strength, and that can happen even if like you fall off a ladder and break your leg when you hit the ground.
It might not have anything to do with the medicine.
It's a medical condition that occurred while you were taking the medicine, so it's included in the data.
Jesus. So I what?
Although let's be honest, very few of the things that you hear about are caused by that. Most of them are caused by the fact that the drug completely fucks up your system in ways that you cannot comprehend.
I think my favorite is
it'll reduce your acne, but you'll have internal bleeding.
Exactly. Yeah. Well, 6 of one, half a dozen of the other. You just have to weigh it.
Six of one, half a million of the other.
My favorite was, I think it was Propecia. It was the hair loss pill, and this is going back years ago. And I don't know. For all I know, Propecia has worked out all of these little kinks, and it's perfectly safe now. But
if it even still exists, I know that the commercials were everywhere for a short time, and then it disappeared. The only place I've heard of it in the last 10 years is when I donate blood. It's one of the things you have to report that you've taken.
Yeah.
At any point in your life.
Which fills you with confidence, right? I remember seeing a Propecia commercial, and they went through all the side effects. And again, just to reiterate, this is a pill that is supposed to treat hair loss, right? It doesn't cure cancer. It's not like, it doesn't get help you drop your HIV viral load, or it's hair loss, right? Mm-hmm. One of the warnings in the commercial was pregnant women should not touch broken pills. So all it does, best case scenario, if this pill works for you, you'll grow a little bit of hair back if you're losing your hair, right? That's the ideal best case scenario. Worst case scenario, a person who is pregnant touches one of the pills, and then who knows what happens. They didn't say what happens. They just said, if you're pregnant, for God's sake, don't touch one of these broken pills. And I'm like, is the trade-off really worth it?
Is Propecia also marketed as Plan B?
Yeah. We can't afford another child. Honey, would you hand me that broken Propecia, please?
Oh, that's terrible.
That's a horrible, dark joke, and it's very out of character for me to say something like that. And I just want to apologize.
Because you always tread so lightly.
I do. I always do.
If there's one thing I've always admired about you, it's your unwillingness to put other people's noses out of joint with your harsh opinions.
Yes,
you don't want to destroy.
My sensitivity and restraint is what I'm known for, and I feel like that will continue to be the case.
Yeah, your sensitivity and restraint go way back, although we won't mention names.
No, well, for legal reasons.
A certain someone in England who used to sell cars.
For legal reasons, I don't think we can mention all the names, but
probably shouldn't mention any of them.
I mean, yeah, I don't know.
Hey, do you think that Propecia will be advertising on some of the streaming services like Disney?
We know it's not all kids watching this shit, okay? We've seen the median audience age for The Mandalorian, and it's not teenagers.
As far as Disney Plus goes, I have no problem with the existence of Disney Plus. I'm already tired of hearing people talk about it like it was the second coming of Christ, only better, because it's real.
Well,
because all this, when it came out, people were just gushing about it, and I have no problem with people being enthusiastic about things, but it's like The Walking Dead when it first came out. Eventually, it got to the point where it's like, all right, I've had enough of this. Enough of this exposure by proxy. I don't want to know. I don't just fine.
I will say this: the thing about Disney Plus, about the enthusiasm about Disney Plus, that is a little weird. There are a few things on it that were either not available or were not widely available before. Like it has the entire run of The Simpsons, which is pretty cool. And I've probably watched that more than I've watched anything else on it so far.
Oh, awesome! That's actually because, yeah, because of the rule about the distribution, they're allowed to show. Hey, The Simpsons finally on a streaming service.
Yeah, they have every episode of The Simpsons. It's not perfect. It's the sort of scaled up HD version that they had that they also have on Amazon Prime, where the episodes are sort of reformatted into a widescreen aspect ratio instead of the original, and that's annoying sometimes. But you know,
now that all the kids are out of the house and don't care, now I have the opportunity to show it to them.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Exactly. But yeah, so having the whole run of The Simpsons is pretty cool. But other than that, like most of the stuff, like everybody's excited about all the Star Wars movies and all the Marvel movies. It's like y'all remember this was all on Netflix like a year ago, right? Like it's not revolutionary to have like, oh my god, a streaming service with all the Star Wars films and all the Marvel movies. Yeah, Netflix. It had it all like a year ago.
It moved from one network to another.
Yeah.
It went from CBS to NBC. It's the same show.
It's the same show. Yeah, but I mean it's cool. Like I said, I subscribed to Disney Plus the first day, and I've been watching The Mandalorian. I just watched the latest episode of it right before we sat down to do this. I've been enjoying it a lot. I've been enjoying being able to watch old episodes of The Simpsons and reminding myself like, wow, this show was really good like in the second season. I forgot how good it got so quickly, you know?
I remember one time watching an episode and Mom commenting in passing that she was impressed that they kept the humor up so much she was afraid it was going to burn out, and saying that it was really good to see they kept the quality of the writing up. And it was an early episode where the art isn't even where you came to establish as normal.
Yeah.
It's like second or third season. It was like, that might have been the one where Homer became the baseball team mascot.
Oh, Dancing Homer.
That's way back.
Yeah,
that's like second or third season.
That might even be first season. No, I think it might be second season.
Yeah, I think it was that episode. But yeah, because there's a line where Marge looks up and goes, "A Simpson on a T-shirt." I never would have believed it.
It's funny to watch all those little inside jokes about how like over marketed the show was in the early seasons, because now it's like, because that went away so fast. Yeah. And then they made a couple jokes about how fast it went away, and then they just never mentioned it again because nobody was talking about it.
There's a brief period where Simpsons T-shirts were everywhere, official ones, unofficial ones.
Simpsons merchandise around 1990, 1991, when the show was like in its first, second, third season, it was like you couldn't get away from it. There was people who like had Bart Simpson shaved into the back of their head. I mean, and
Dan Quayle took a shot at them.
Yeah.
Anyone remember Dan Quayle?
Dan Quayle.
Remember when we thought that he was an embarrassment? Wow.
Hey, boy, Dan, come back. That's the joke. That's the joke is when somebody says, you know, oh, do you miss George W. Bush yet? Motherfucker, miss George W. Bush. I miss Dan Quayle. That's how bad this shit is. That's how fucked we are. I'm praying for Dan Quayle to make a return to public life, okay? So since we brought it up,
we're going to segue?
That's a beautiful segue you just did there, my friend. Yeah, let's talk about how fucked we are, and the reason why it seems that we are so fucked, which is that there's a certain portion of the population. I'm not going to be a pessimist and say half. I don't think it's that many, but it's a significant portion of the population of the United States.
And unfortunately, a politically powerful percentage.
Yeah. About half of the people in Congress, unfortunately, but not quite. I wouldn't say half of the overall population, but a large portion who just don't seem to care about what is actually true anymore, which is a little upsetting if you think about it.
Yeah, we've got to the point where facts are just discarded if they're not taken, they don't fit the narrative. But anything that's made up that fits the narrative is taken as sacrosanct, even if it's completely pulled out of thin air and been completely debunked. It's how do you make progress when huge percentages of the population are completely impervious to facts.
Yeah. Well, where do you even start? Like, how do you get? Because any argument, excuse me, any debate has to start with a certain fundamental agreement of a set of facts.
Yeah.
And when you can't even have that, like, where do you even
Yeah.
start?
You need common ground, and facts are true needs to be part of that common
Yeah.
ground. If you can't agree that facts are true, then there's really no point in talking with you.
Yeah. Well, and the thing about it, like, because I mean, everybody has the capacity. Everybody is susceptible to bias. Everybody is susceptible to prejudice. We all have prejudices. We all have areas where we're short-sighted or where we're oblivious to things, or like that's everybody, right? Nobody's perfect. Nobody has
Yeah, and the
absolute
more people
knowledge.
insist they are, the more likely they're not.
Yeah, yeah. Nobody has. Yeah, like we're all in the same predicament. But it is, even now, even after 3 years of this, it's no longer surprising to me, but it's still dismaying to me that so many people have been willing to completely turn away from obvious facts for the sake of this guy. Like, it's not like he's Abraham Lincoln and people are like, "Oh, he suspended habeas corpus." Well, I'm sure he had a good reason. No, it's not that. It's this is for Donald Trump. There was a joke a couple years ago on Weekend Update where, and I forget the exact joke, but Michael Shea did the joke, and it was basically like this is the guy, like you're going through all this for this guy. This is the guy. It's mind-boggling to me that Donald Trump is the guy that the Republican Party has decided to circle the wagons around and protect at all costs. I do not get it at all.
He's the hill they're going to die on.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully they'll die. But yeah, I do not get it. And if I were a Republican, God help me, if I were a Republican, getting him the hell out of there would be my number one priority. Because even if you agree with him on politics, even if you agree with his policies, I mean, you're a horrible person, first of all, but let's just say you agree with him on politics. Wouldn't you want someone competent and disciplined and not a huge laughing stock to be the guy to lead you and implement your policies? Like this,
But somewhere along the line, there came a portion of the population who started seeing intelligence as a bad thing and as something that was elitist. And so they became, despite how a lot of these people, not to stereotype, are not the brightest people, but they seem to have come to the conclusion that they wanted to be smarter than their leaders. So they elect people who they can feel better than. They elect the dumbest son of a bitch they can find.
That's quintessentially American, isn't it? We want to be smarter than our leaders, so we're not going to educate ourselves. We're going to elect less intelligent leaders.
Yeah, as Jon Stewart once said, if you do this job right, they may carve your face onto the side of a mountain.
Yeah.
And for this office, we've selected Donald Trump.
I mean, and that's what makes. I think that's why, because look, political parties, politicians have always been willing to bend the truth or to spin things in their favor, but this regular practice of just outright lying or defending outright obvious lies, this has not been standard practice until relatively recently, and it's just shocking because, like, Donald Trump is the guy that you've decided to do this for. Like, you've decided that, oh no, Trump is the guy that we're going to just completely throw all the rules of reality out the window, and it doesn't matter what he did or how much evidence there is for what he did. We're going to say that he didn't do anything wrong, and that's it.
Because, yeah, there's always been bias and there's always been spin, but it's never been this shameless and it's never
No.
been this brazen and blatant and obvious. I mean, the example of the saying things that are actively untrue that know are untrue, and then and on top of that, the open criminality is beyond shocking. I mean, they were talking about how Trump was potentially going to be impeached for colluding with foreign nations, with Russia, to throw the election. And in a press conference about this, he openly asked China to interfere in the election.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is apparently business as normal. That's one of those things where, if Obama did that, they would have had the articles of impeachment written up. They probably already had them in the briefcase, or just pulled them right out, filled in the blank, and submitted it immediately. But when Trump does it, it's okay. And I just, it's mind-boggling. I understand to an extent that people support their guy, but there comes a point when you have to use some common sense and say, my guy is an incompetent criminal. I really should stop backing this horse.
He should not be your guy. Yeah. Well, I love this excuse, right? Because, anyone who's paid even half attention to the impeachment proceedings over the last month or so, you're familiar with the Republican strategy of defending Donald Trump, which is for the members of Congress on the various committees that have been holding these hearings, when it's their turn, the Republicans, they all whine and piss and moan about how unfair the process is. And then,
even though they're invited to participate and refuse.
Yes, exactly. They say, okay, I'll take it back. That's one of my other favorite thing is Trump and his cronies have been whining for this whole time. No due process. We're being shut out of the process, right? Like a week ago, the Judiciary Committee invited the White House to participate in the process, and they said, no, thanks. So, okay, you've been invited to participate in the process that you say is unfair because you haven't been invited to participate in it. You said no. Okay. But no, what I was going to say is like they say that this is a vendetta on the part of the Democrats, that the Democrats, they've been wanting to impeach Donald Trump since the day he took office. And that reminds me of the weird alternate reality that Republicans would also use to talk about President Obama, because they would talk about President Obama and the person they were talking about was a fictional character. They would talk about this President Obama that was this radical, wild-eyed leftist who was going to redistribute the wealth and tax all the billionaires into poverty and all this stuff. And
even though Obama wasn't significantly further left than Reagan.
No, and people who were actually on the left politically were like, okay, a lot of us don't like Obama either, but it's because he's not far left enough. It's not like if he was like this radical leftist, we would love the guy, right? It's because Obama was too much of a centrist that actual progressives criticized him. It wasn't that, he was this radical leftist. And they're doing the same thing when they talk about the Democrats who are leading the impeachment process, where they say like, oh, they've been trying to impeach this president from day one. No, they haven't. That's why I've been mad at them for 3 years, because they should have been, and they weren't. He's been doing impeachable stuff for 3 years, and they haven't been trying to impeach him this whole time. Believe me, I've been watching and complaining about it the whole time.
Like I said, the Democrats had to be dragged kicking and screaming into this, but it just became so brazen and over the top that they couldn't ignore it anymore.
Yeah, I mean, if they're honestly, what I would love to see is one of the actual progressive Democrats in Congress, like AOC or Ayanna Pressley or Ilhan Omar, somebody like step up to a microphone and say, you want to know what the best proof is that Donald Trump is really guilty of this shit? The best proof is that he's so guilty and so obviously dangerously corrupt that it even motivated the fucking Democrats to do something about it. Because everybody knows that with the exception of a small portion of the Democratic caucus, and I'm a registered Democrat. I vote Democrat. I make no bones about that. I have no no, I'm not conflicted about that. They're the people. They're the only people to vote for. But the mainstream Democratic Party is worthless, is cowardly, and is more worried about how it's going to reflect in the new polls than it is doing the right thing. If the Democratic Party was as principled in truth as it has acted like in the last few weeks with this impeachment inquiry, they would have drawn up articles of impeachment in January of 2017 because he did impeachable offenses his first week in office. He tried to do the Muslim ban his first week in office. He tried to ban members of a religion from entering the country. I don't know. I feel like that should have been a bigger deal than it was. Instead of Democrats going, "Oh, isn't this a shame? I wish you wouldn't do this." Like,
I've said for decades, Republicans are evil and Democrats are useless. If you had to sum the parties up in one term, one word.
Democrats know what the right thing to do is. They're just too chicken shit to do it. That's what it boils down to. And I'm talking about like mainstream, like centrist, middle of the road Democratic politicians. There are plenty of Democrats that are great people. But Democratic politicians, by and large, that's who they show themselves to be. They know what the right thing to do is, and they even know the right thing to say most of the time. But when it comes time to actually put their asses on the line and do something, you can't count on them. You have to drag them to do the right thing, and eventually, if you drag them long enough, they will. But
I think we're starting to see that with some of the newer people who are coming into Congress, who are being elected by a generation that has watched the current people in charge for their entire lives and realized that these people don't care about anyone or anything but themselves, and are trying to put people in there to do better.
Yeah,
and the vilification, like the Republicans always go on about how they're the party of the working man and the common person, and then they just throw them under the bus every chance they get. I mean, they mock Ocasio-Cortez for having been a bartender. It's like, what, doing actual work is something that's used as derogatory?
So,
working is something that lesser people do.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean that says a lot about mindset right there.
The Republican Party saying they're the party of the working class is like the Cardassians saying they're the party of the Bajorans. Like, there's
a 20-year-old reference that still works.
It's laughable. It's laughable. Okay, it's like the First Order saying they're the party of the resistance. Like it's obviously bullshit. How could anyone possibly take it seriously? And yet, that's the other thing that's frustrating, that not only are Democrats cowardly when it comes to taking a stand and doing what's right, if there's the least chance that they might get some blowback because of it, Republicans are so much better at messaging because they're disciplined, and they've at this point they're well practiced at just looking straight into a camera and saying stuff that they know is complete bullshit, but saying it as though they mean it.
Yeah, because Democrats have spent far too long believing that simply having the facts on their side is going to be enough. And it's been demonstrated quite conclusively for quite a while, but especially during this current administration, that is absolutely not true. You can have all the facts on the road on your side, but if you can't get anyone to believe them, it's not going to help.
Yeah.
And Democrats, rather than try to say, they say, but, and meanwhile, Republicans are spinning their yarns and creating these fancy tales and operating off of a spreadsheet and a playbook that is being sent out publicly to Democrats too, and the Democrats still can't figure out how to counter it.
Yeah, really.
Oh, it's just
the Democrats are here's an even older reference for you. The Democrats are the General George McClellan of American politics. Because even if you give them every possible advantage, including advantages that they didn't even expect they were going to get, you still have to bite your nails and worry about whether or not they're going to fuck it up.
Didn't McClellan retreat when he outnumbered the enemy 6-1?
Yeah, McClellan got General Lee's battle plans before a battle and still could only manage a draw. I mean,
there was a man who had no business being a combat general.
no, there was, yeah,
And then,
he should have been like in charge of training the army because that's what he was good at.
and after he got removed from that position, he ran for president
Yes.
against Abraham Lincoln. Imagine how terrifying that would have been if he had won.
Oh my, I'm sure.
That would have been the end.
Well, and Lincoln, because there was a
Hey,
period there.
the results of that election bought us an extra 150 years.
Yes, we had a good run. There was a period leading up to that election where it looked like McClellan was going to win, and Lincoln wrote letters to people in the weeks leading up to that election, expecting that he would lose. And one of the things he said was, if I do end up losing this election, then I will spend every waking moment between then and the inauguration trying to find a just end to this war. Because if I cannot end it before my presidency is over, I do not think my successor will be able to do it. You know.
From what I know, that's an accurate accurate summation. He was, yeah. I've heard of that. McClellan just had absolutely no ability to take advantage of anything.
He
turned wins into draws and draws into losses and crushing defeats.
I mean, in a way, it's like he didn't like to fight, which is understandable, and it's nice, of course. It's nice to think that even back in the 1860s, there were people who were like, oh, war is terrible and we shouldn't have wars. Like, that's great.
But there's still an expectancy that you're going to be competent at your job.
Yeah. Well,
there was not so much anymore.
not so much the last couple of years, but at a certain point there was. But I mean, that the whole reason why General Grant finally was the Union general that won the war was he was the one who finally said, we just have to fight. We just have to fight, and that's it. And we can't you're not going to outflank the whole Confederacy and be like, we got you surrounded, you better give up. Like, you just have to beat them. And it took several generals and a few years before they finally figured out, we're just going to have to go and kill a bunch of them, and then they'll give up.
I mean, they didn't really give up. The Confederacy evaporated as a political entity, but it continued as a cultural one. It really hasn't changed much in 150 years.
They wound up winning in a certain way, didn't they? Yeah. But yeah, I mean, to drag it back to what we were talking about originally. I mean,
if we must,
it is. I mean, it's stunning to hear elected officials in the United States on TV in the course of a congressional hearing try to actually seriously sell us on the fact that Donald Trump said what he said to the president of Ukraine because he was genuinely concerned about corruption. As though nobody's ever heard of Donald Trump and we have no insight into his character whatsoever. Oh yeah, that makes sense. Donald Trump was just sincerely concerned about corruption, and that's the whole deal. It wasn't that he was looking to dig up dirt on a political opponent or to do something that would benefit, his personal interest. No, he truly cares about political corruption and wants to root it out wherever he finds it. How can you say that with a straight face? But all the Republicans are saying that with a straight face.
And people are believing it.
The guy who bragged about sneaking into the dressing room of the Miss Teen USA pageant. That's the guy who we're supposed to believe is the enemy of corruption.
All those trans bathroom bills, you need to protect our kids against, but you don't have to protect them against the president.
I propose a Trump bathroom bill. Let trans people use whatever goddamn bathroom they feel comfortable with, and Donald Trump can never use a public restroom anywhere ever again.
I have read that after this administration, they're going to have to pass a stack of laws about things that to prevent the president from doing things that nobody ever dreamed a president would be brazen enough to do.
He is. He's the human embodiment of, you know, that pack of silicate at the bottom of like a package, and it says "Do not eat," and you think there's a reason they felt the need to print that on there. Somebody ate this shit at some point. Donald Trump is the guy who ate the shit at some point. Nobody ever thought that would be a problem. Like, no, we don't know. Come on, just put it in. Nobody's going to eat it. Somebody ate it. Oh, Donald Trump is the person who ate it. And they're like, I guess we have to label it from now on.
People like him are the reason that there's warning labels on anything like unhooked from power supply before servicing, or product will be hot after heating.
And it's like a coffee pot. You know?
Somebody said, or microwave food. Product will be hot after heating. Dave Barry said somebody once sent him the instructions from a water pick that included the instructions never use while sleeping.
I mean, you have to ask the question, you know? Like, I mean, look, okay, our species has a certain sense of adventure about it. You know, we like to try new things. Sometimes that has worked out. Like, just think, there had to be someone who was the first person to ever eat a lobster. I mean, everybody else must have thought that guy was out of his mind. Like, what are you doing? What are you eating that fucking thing for? And he's like,
that used to be desperation. Lobsters used to be the bottom food of the poor people because it was so disgusting until somebody decided they could make money by pretending that it was something fantastic.
And pretending that it has flavor when it actually really doesn't.
Which is why you smother it in butter and then you eat. It's basically just a medium to get butter into your mouth.
You're paying top dollar to kill a living creature and then eat its flavorless meat, so that you can have a vessel to spoon liquid butter into your mouth.
Or you can just like melt the stick of butter in the microwave and drink it right out of a cup.
Just do what Julia Child did and put butter in literally everything you ever cook. You ever watch old Julia Child episodes and she's like, okay, it's something that you would never even think butter even. Okay, we're going to make a beef stew. First, melt 7 sticks of butter. Like, what?
It's like, you're melting butter. It's like you're making ice cream. It's fine. It's fine. Work with me.
just make the butter, God damn it.
It's 4 parts Coca-Cola Classic, 1 part butter.
Sometimes Ashley and I watch like old Julia Child episodes on Amazon Prime, and there was this one episode she did this a couple times where she was like, I'm going to show you how to make a terrific meal, and it only has 5 ingredients. And what you realize about halfway through the show is it's 5 ingredients, and then she just arbitrarily stopped counting. And there's a bunch of other ingredients that for some reason aren't included in the list. Like, he's like, okay, we're gonna melt some chocolate, and we're gonna melt the chocolate in a cup of hot coffee. Like, coffee's not one of the ingredients. Like, you need it. Apparently, you need it to make the thing, but it's not one of the ingredients. You know. Or you had this in your pantry. You know, we'll sprinkle some shaved coconut. You just have this in your pantry. Well, I still have to use it.
So it's like something that the ingredient has to be prepared in advance. Like, one of the ingredients is veal piccata. You know?
I have a baked Alaska here. This counts as one ingredient. Well, it's prepared ahead of time.
It's like, Julia, truth. That's more than 5 ingredients.
Yeah, exactly.
We're both trying to bring it back on topic because we both know we wander really badly.
I wrote the cookbook. Yeah, well,
I Ghost wrote the cookbook.
Talking shade about Julia Child from beyond the grave.
No, I'm not. I'm not beyond the grave.
Oh, she is. I don't know.
Yeah,
she's somewhere in a beautiful.
I'm assuming that there was ghostwriting involved because there usually is.
She's existing in some beautiful, probably butter-based afterlife.
She exists in digital form on the server for you to watch her at your convenience.
Yes, sir. Her soul will never be at peace.
But as far as addressing the whole issue of this brazen lying and not accepting the truth, do you have any clue what the hell, as a culture, as a society, we do about that?
Boy,
start teaching critical thinking earlier in education, or at all in education? So because part of this comes about because education is being seriously broken in this country. You're trying to
Yeah.
make it so that kids don't learn. So there's so many tests that they only have to memorize what's on the test and they don't understand anything. Trying to make the whole job of teaching so unpleasant that anyone who is competent and capable doesn't want to actually do it. Because, just because you want to teach kids doesn't mean you want to be living in constant fear of guns and drills and stuff.
Yeah.
And education, like many things in this country, is fairly significantly broken. And I think that's where you start. But I mean, that's a much easier said than done thing. That's also the problem was a long time in coming, so it's a long time in fixing as well.
Well, yeah, you kind of hit on it there. Like it's things are so broken in so many different ways that there isn't just one thing we can do. There's probably a dozen things we need to do just to get a start on it. I mean, and just think, Donald Trump was elected president. People voted for him. Yeah, more people voted for the other candidate, but nevertheless, he was elected president through a constitutional legal process. Like he is, legally speaking, he is the legitimate president. He didn't, grab power in a coup. There was a
system. He may try to maintain it in a coup of sorts.
If he loses the next one, he may try a coup. But
ordering the military tanks to go run over the spectators in the mall while the inauguration of the next person.
Yeah, he's a product of a whole plethora of problems that
right. As we said, Trump is not the problem by himself. Trump by himself is just a jackass and a fool.
Yeah.
Trump with millions of supporters is a problem. And once Trump is gone, the problem is going to be all the people who support him are still going to be looking for someone like him.
Yeah. So, I mean, how do we fix this? I think you have to educate people on all of the reasons why voting for someone like Donald Trump is not okay. It's not just a difference of political opinion. It's not just, well, I think taxes should be this high and you think taxes should be this high. It's something that is so deeply offensive, like to us as a country, to our laws, to our Constitution, to our basic human decency. Like whether you look at it from a legal perspective or a moral perspective, there is just no excuse for supporting this man or for ever having supported him. And to convince people who do support him otherwise, it's a very complicated process. Like, and if they don't care about the fact that he's a habitual liar, then I don't know, like, where else do you start?
And that he is not even remotely interested in doing the responsibilities of the job.
No, he's not nor is he capable. Like, even this is the thing, there are so many levels of incompetence and wrongness to Donald Trump that even if he woke up every morning and said to himself, in complete sincerity, I'm going to try my hardest to be the best president I could be. He couldn't do it because he's incompetent and he sucks at everything. Even if he was trying to do a good job, he doesn't have it in him because he doesn't have the skills, he doesn't have the temperament, he doesn't have the mentality. He thinks he's great at everything. He is, from what I can tell, terrible at everything, but he's absolutely convinced that he's great at everything and he knows everything he needs to know about everything he needs to know, and there's just no getting through. No, actually, Donald, you're quite ignorant about most things. Yeah, you're not very good at anything that I can see.
He can't take responsibility for anything because there's a news article in the last week or so where apparently he screamed at a bunch of White House staffers, "You're making me look like an idiot."
Yeah. Yeah. Well, that's like how he's mad at the media for being biased because they report the things he says and does.
Yeah.
Like, well, you said the thing. Fucking.
Yeah. It's like near the end of Jon Stewart's run on the Daily Show, Asif Manvi was interviewing somebody who was talking about racism and saying some things, and he started talking about things that he had done in the past, and Asif looks at him and goes, "You are aware we can hear you, right?"
Right. Like. Yeah, it's so. I
But
mean,
again, people want to believe, and so it's like they put aside the facts because they're more interested in the tribalism in their guy. There's us versus them, and he's one of us, so we will support him no matter what ridiculous thing he does, no matter how terrible it is, because he's one of us. And you're not going to convince anyone otherwise unless you can somehow convince people that Trump isn't one of you. And
yeah,
honestly, that's a large part of what the Democrats have been doing wrong. They have been trying to figure out how you get Trump voters to switch over to you. The answer is you're not, because
yeah.
they're completely unencumbered by reality of any kind. What you do is you get the 50% of America that doesn't vote at all and convince them that it's important to show up and vote for you.
Yeah. If
That's the messaging thing that the Democrats get wrong all the time. They're
yeah,
doing the wrong. They want the right thing, but they don't know how to go about doing it, and they choose the wrong path.
this strategy of we have to find a way to make our message palatable to Trump voters is such a waste of time and so dangerous because like you said, yeah,
And
there are.
the fact is, it doesn't matter what you do. That you're not going to go far enough to the right to appeal to the Trump voters more than Trump does. I mean,
Yeah.
the Democrats could party on we're going to execute all black people in the United States, and they wouldn't be able to swap Trump voters
No.
over.
Well, and there's a certain amount of this that if you are a Democratic politician and yeah, what you just phrased it very nicely, I think. If you think you can appeal to Trump voters more than Trump does, it,
What the hell are you doing at
well,
that point?
what the hell are you doing? And why are you in the Democratic Party? But I mean, and assuming that you are sincerely like a Democrat, you're not just a Republican who is in the wrong party. It seems to me that you are assuming the truth of this notion that, well, most Trump voters voted for him for economic reasons. Most Trump voters voted for him for, legitimate reasons. They just made a wrong choice. And how many how many years have to go by before we finally get that was bullshit? That most people who voted for Donald Trump did not vote for him because they were anxious working class people. They voted for him because he got up and he gave speeches about how scary immigrants are and how scary black people are and how scary the future is and how wouldn't it be great if we brought back fucking coal mining, and all your parents and grandparents who don't know shit about shit and don't give a fuck about the world they leave behind for their kids and their grandkids said, I like the sound of that guy. It had nothing to do with
That's
economic.
familiar.
Yeah, it's familiar. And there was a moment in one of Trump's speeches a couple weeks ago that I thought, oh, that is so perfectly ignorant. It encapsulates not just him and his mentality, but the bullshit ignorance that thinks it's genius, that allows all these other people to vote for him and support him. He was given a speech. It was the speech he gave to the cops in Chicago. And he said in the speech, he said, I was talking to someone who was a retired Chicago cop, and he said, Mr. President, this problem with crime in Chicago, we could fix this in a couple weeks. It would be easy. And Trump shared this anecdote as though that was his attitude too. Like some random guy came up to him and said, Mr. President, if people would just, do a couple of common sense things, we could get this crime problem in Chicago under control in a few weeks. And Trump was like, yeah, that sounds reasonable. That sounds like, yeah, this complex problem that has bedeviled this city of millions of people for years. Yeah, we could probably fix it in a few weeks if we just did X, Y, and Z according to this random fucking retired guy who somehow thinks he's got it all figured out because he worked a job for the police department for a few years. And I guess that makes him an expert on all of the relevant issues. And he walks up
and somehow find a way to approach the president.
yeah, and walks up to the president and says, here's what you need to do. And the thing is that Trump does that all the time. He repeatedly mentions in speeches, either he passes it off as his own idea or he mentions, talking to someone else who said it. But it's always, oh, such and such, that's easy. everything is easy. All these complex problems that we are facing. Oh, the trade deficit. No, we can fix that. That's easy. You just need to know what you're doing. And I know what I'm doing. And it's not easy. And he doesn't know what he's doing. But that's a very appealing narrative. You have this guy who gets up in front of thousands of people on a stage, and he's like, "Here's how
tells you what you want to hear."
Yeah, he tells you what you want to hear. I hear this. This is easy. Everybody's telling you how hard this is to fix. This is easy. I'll tell you how to do it. We'll do it. It's easy. And he never does it, and it isn't easy. And none of the problems he promises to fix have been remotely fixed.
Yeah. Well, another thing that he does is when he talks, he speaks in vague terms that allow people to fill in their own prejudices and to make them think that he's speaking to their prejudices. He'll have speeches where he'll refer to them without specifying who they are. And then people just say, if somebody is against black people or Muslims or immigrants or whatever, the brain fills that in. It's like, yeah, he's saying exactly what I think, but he's not. He's giving you a mad lib and you're filling it in yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, and
you can't. You're not going to appeal to the people who react to that or respond to that.
No. It is a complete waste of time for a Democrat to try and appeal to a Trump voter or to a Republican, whatever. Although
an hour into our video here to try to bring it back to the title, Joe Biden seems to be trying by appealing to people how he wants to resolve problems by threatening fistfights or push-up competitions.
Oh, Joe.
It's like, you know what? You're good as the wacky Uncle Joe vice president, but no, this is too much.
He has me wishing that it was the Joe Biden from The Onion that was running. That Joe Biden would be better than the real Joe Biden who is running right now. I mean, it's.
I don't understand what Joe's trying to do. I really don't.
I don't either. You've served your country. Just retire, Joe. That's. But see, and Joe Biden is a great example of that phenomenon that we were talking about earlier, which is the people who think that, well, the main problem is Donald Trump, and once we get rid of Donald Trump, then everything can get back to normal. And normal is the reason we got Donald Trump in the first place. And if you elect someone like Biden, who is, I'm sure he's a nice guy and he was a fine vice president,
I'm sure he means well.
And I'm sure he means well. Absolutely. I'm sure he means well.
He would be better than Trump, but that's not a doubt.
Oh, if he's the nominee, I'll vote for him. But I hope he's not the nominee.
That's how I felt about Hillary Clinton.
Yeah,
But I'll tell you, I voted for Hillary. I know a number of people who voted for Trump as a protest vote simply because they didn't like Hillary. And how's that working out?
Oh God, that's anybody who said for any reason that Trump was preferable to Hillary, you're not even, we can't even be from the same planet.
If you're going to do a protest vote, don't give it to the primary candidate running against the person you're voting against. Vote for one of those loon balls like Stein or Johnson. Don't vote for Trump.
But I mean, Biden has no ideas. He has no reason to run other than my turn.
Which is why Hillary ran. And household name familiarity is the sort of thing that some of the people who run the party are like, yeah, that's what we need.
Yeah, that's exactly right. That's what scares me is that
who the hell heard of Ocasio-Cortez before the election? But boy.
And you know what else? She has raised more money for her reelection than any other congressional candidate, and she has not spent a minute fundraising. People support her candidacy because they believe in her and because they think she's doing a good job, not because she is constantly obsessing over opinion polls or going out and soliciting donations. She got elected. She went to Washington. She's doing her fucking job the best she can and doing whatever she can to stand up to this nonsense. And people are supporting her because they believe in her and think she's doing a good job.
I wish more people were doing this, and Democratic leadership is taking exactly the wrong lessons from this. This is what she's controversial. We need to back away from this. No, she's not controversial. She is representing what the majority of people want, but she's doing it openly in the way that you don't, and she's challenging the power brokers in the way that you're terrified of doing.
And she doesn't care if she pisses off Republicans because she's not running to get Republicans to vote for her anyway.
Right.
Like it doesn't, and you know that's the other thing. People like the sort of Democratic leadership in Congress who will sort of try to distance themselves from Ocasio-Cortez and Ayanna Pressley and Ilhan Omar and
anyone who's competent and willing to try to make a difference.
Yeah, and they try to distance them.
The status quo is fine. It gave us Trump, but it's fine.
That's it. And but they don't even like. They're slow to throw their full support behind like the Green New Deal, for example. And it's like, okay, fine. If you don't think the Green New Deal is a good idea, what's your idea? And they don't have one. And it's like we all believe we all believe that climate change is real. We all believe it's going to have devastating effects on the environment.
It's not even a matter of belief; it's fact. Everything is showing that.
Yeah,
but this is the narrative. See, this is how the Republicans. We agree full on that climate change is an existential threat to the human race. And yet we still use the term belief as if it's a matter of faith rather than fact.
Yeah.
Because the Republicans are so much better at their messaging and getting their nonsense out. And that even facts are in dispute.
Yeah. And they've also convinced everybody that their bullshit talking points are more important than whether or not our civilization survives. I mean, they're out here talking about, you know, like to like the Green New Deal, for example, complaining about how, the Green New Deal, it's going to cost people jobs and you're not going to be able to buy a hamburger anymore and blah. It's like, we're all going to die. I mean, we're all like, and even if their hysterical fear mongering about the Green New Deal were true, which it's not. But even if it were true, okay, on option A, you have, it'll destabilize the economy. It'll cost people some jobs. It'll force us to make some pretty serious changes in our diet because we won't be able to grow certain foods, blah, blah, blah. Or we'll all die. So which one would you choose?
What was the thing that goes on Facebook every now and then? A person is at a conference or whatever is saying, but what if this isn't true? We end up making the world a better place for no reason.
Exactly. Do we need to face an existential threat before we decide to make positive changes in our society?
Well, clearly, yes, because we're at that point and we still aren't.
We're still fighting about it.
Yeah, we've got the fires raging across Australia and concerns about the future viability of the koala as a species because most of their habitats are burning, and we've got heat waves and floods and more powerful hurricanes more frequently, and we're pretending like, well, we don't have to do anything. It's not a problem. We brush it off. It's like we're not motivated to do it. Or you know what? I think a lot of people are motivated to do it, but the people in charge aren't because they're the ones who are benefiting from this in the short term, and that's all they care about.
Yeah, I mean,
it's maddening.
If I could, I have felt this way.
But remember, the key is that you should stop using plastic straws. Because that's the problem.
I would rather have a metal straw because that can become a weapon in a pinch, like you could just, it'll hold its shape.
Yeah. I'm just picturing Toby holding a metal straw and having to explain that in some future video. What's with the straw?
Oh, you'll see, baby. You'll see. Actually, you won't see after I use the straw.
Because it'll be in your eye.
Because it'll be in your face. It'll be sticking out of your eye. I mean, this has been a problem with Democrats since Bill Clinton was president. And the reason it's a problem is because it worked when Bill Clinton did it. And now the Democratic Party has completely forgotten any other way to do it. Bill Clinton had this strategy that sometimes it's called the third way. It was also called triangulation, and it basically boiled down to finding a way to get mostly progressive policies that would appeal to conservatives. So you wouldn't accomplish everything that the progressives wanted, because you'd have to water it down or drag it more toward the center to get the conservatives to agree to it.
But it would be progress.
Yeah, but you would get progress because you would get people from both sides on board. And that worked fairly well for Clinton. I mean, it resulted in some bad things too, like the crime bill and others. But you know, it gave Bill Clinton the ability to have a very successful presidency in terms of having accomplishments he could list.
But that was also back before the current post-truth era,
Yeah.
when Republicans were still operating on a somewhat honest basis. They were legitimately engaged, and they were based in reality.
Yeah. After Barack Obama was elected, the Republican Party, which is essentially racist and white supremacist, decided that they weren't going to work with the Democrats anymore or President Obama, and that was just the way it was. And if anybody has a better explanation other than racism, I'm still waiting to hear it. I'm still waiting to hear why, if it wasn't racism, why the Republicans who were willing to at least work with Bill Clinton were not willing to work with Barack Obama, who, like Clinton, was mostly a moderate Democrat.
It wasn't racism; it was the tan suit.
Yeah, that was it. That had to be it. Yeah, it was the tan suit. But you know, but Obama
and the Dijon mustard.
Yeah, that fucking elitist. But Obama and the Democrats continued to deal with the Republicans as though it was still the Clinton era, and as though there was some bipartisan common ground to be found. And the Democratic Party leadership, even after the way the Republican Party has behaved in the Trump administration, I think they still feel that way. They still think that, well, we just need to find common ground with these guys. And it's just, they're not interested.
Yeah, it's because these are, for want of a better term, the dinosaurs who don't realize that things have changed.
Yeah. And
there's one cartoon from back when Obama was president where it's like, he's talking to a Republican, and it's like, we can meet in the middle. Just take a step toward me. So Obama takes a step toward the Republican, and the Republican takes a step back.
Yeah. Yeah. And
that's what they've been doing for over a decade now.
And the thing is, and here's this, yeah, exactly. That's the main point, is that the first time Obama took that step, you can't blame him, because he wants to find common ground. You know, he wants to reach across the aisle. So the first time Obama takes a step toward the Republicans and the Republicans take a step the other way, okay, we'll spot you that one. Not your fault. You were trying to do the right thing. You wanted to be a president for all the people. The 15th time. Yeah, it's like, and then Obama's gone and the Democrats are still doing it. It's like, what has to happen here before you figure this out? Like, how far do you need to allow yourselves and our whole political culture to be dragged in their direction before you finally figure out that you are part of this problem because you are enabling it instead of fighting them? And I'm glad that they're impeaching him. I think the Democrats, the way they have conducted themselves throughout the impeachment process has been terrific. I think Adam Schiff has done a good job, but this should have been going on 3 years ago. There has never been a day of the Trump administration when he was a fit president, not a single day. This should have been treated like a national emergency from the first moment he stepped into that office. And if any Republicans whined and pissed and moaned about, oh, you're not giving him a chance, just say, hey, I gave him a chance. I paid attention to his campaign. If he does anything that he promised to do, we need to get him the fuck out of there. Because
and by ignoring the problem for this many years, they help normalize it.
Yeah. There are still people who treat him as though he's just another president. I mean, we talked about this a little bit last time when he was booed at the World Series, and there were Democrats who were like, "Oh, I don't think we should be booing the president." What the? Where have you been for the last 3 years?
What does he have to do before he doesn't deserve your support?
What does he have to do? Yes. Like the family said
The people who are insisting that Trump should not be impeached now are the same people who are perfectly okay with Clinton getting impeached for what we can basically say was no offense at all,
yes.
comparatively speaking to possible treason, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's mind-boggling. It's mind-boggling, and it's frustrating, and it's the kind of thing that here's the most frustrating thing about it, and this is I'm glad that I remembered this because I wanted to mention this when you messaged me and you said, why don't we talk about this for the show? I wanted to make sure I got this in. Is that the thing that pisses me off the most about this that we've been talking about, the post-truth era? How do you convince people that this is a problem? Blah blah blah. It pisses me off that it feels like this is our problem to fix. And I mean our in terms of like the collective our, not just me and you, because if it's just me and you, we're fucked. I think we can both agree.
Well,
but it feels
we
like
may have Pierre on our side too.
Pierre maybe could turn the tide. It feels like it's our problem to fix, and it pisses me off because this should not be our problem to fix. You know, I was talking to someone last week, I think, in my live stream last week. They were talking about YouTube changing its terms of service, and a lot of YouTube creators are upset at what some of the new terms are going to be, and they're proposing that we do a YouTube walkout where, like, for 4 days nobody will upload a YouTube video, and everybody will put all the videos that they do have on their channel on private, and
Oh, woohoo! That's not going to solve the problem unless you abandon the platform completely.
Yeah, and I thought
it's like the things about protesting oil companies now. You're not buying gas on a certain day.
Yeah,
or you're going to buy the day before, the day after. It's not going to solve anything.
Yeah, and the gas company knows that, and YouTube knows that. And also, this should not be our problem. This should not be our responsibility. We're not the ones who have the power to fix this. Maybe we should. Maybe it should be up to us. And if it were actually up to us, yeah, absolutely, let's do something about it. But it's not up to us. It's up to YouTube, and it's up to creators on YouTube who actually have influence. Not me, not you, not really any of the people who watch my shit or in my circle. Like, it's not up to us. We don't have the power to fix this. And if we put ourselves at risk to try and make a statement, it's not going to accomplish anything. I'm sorry. It sucks, but that's the way it is. And, with the problems in our institutions, the problems in Congress, the problems with the Trump administration, what pisses me off is there are millions of people all across the country who have to watch this and go, what the fuck are we going to do about this? And the people who actually have the power to do something about it immediately in the short term are the ones who aren't doing anything about it. And it really, really pisses me off. And
well, don't worry, Joe Biden will do push-ups.
Uncle Joe's going to fix it. He didn't just challenge him to a push-up contest. He also challenged him to an IQ test.
IQ test, yeah.
Like, what are you even saying? What if the other guy has a higher IQ than you, Joe?
Didn't Biden also say something to the effect of suggesting that the guy wasn't going to vote for him anyway because he was too old?
See, and he was like, what? He's like 5 years older than Biden. I mean, I think, yeah, the guy who said that was like in his early 80s. Joe Biden is like 78. So, I mean, take it easy, Joe.
All right, so at this point,
Jesus.
At this point, this is normally when we do 5 minutes of Trump. I'm thinking maybe we've covered that well enough.
We don't need to do that. Yeah, we've done an hour and 13 minutes of Trump.
The only 5-letter T word he wants to hear is Trump. He doesn't care about truth. Or trust.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah. I like that.
Ooh. Feel free to use it. In some other video like that.
I will
delete Facepalm 5 or something.
I will delete this video and steal it and claim that it was mine, and there will be no evidence that you ever said it.
Oh, at least you got a plan. Oh. All right. So, do we have anything else at this point before we get to our normal post-rant?
I have nothing. I did have a potential candidate for Who's Garbage Now, but it would be 2 shows in a row where mine was related to pro wrestling, and I feel like that's pushing it. So I will.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with you on that. That would be pushing it.
I will pull back, and I will say I don't have anyone for Who's Garbage Now.
No, I hadn't thought of anyone for that either. So I think Who's Garbage Now will be on hiatus for this month.
The question will then become, who's garbage next?
Ooh.
Huh?
You don't have a graphic for that,
No, I
but why
don't.
would it be? It'd be the same graphic with different text over it.
Yeah, I
What's
would
the point?
just scribble out the now and write next in. Yeah.
In fact, that would look really good if you use like MS Paint and just use the red.
Yeah, it's a different graphic. It's a different segment. It's not the same.
Oh man! And we went over the various streaming services. We led into that thanks to Pierre and his bizarre life choices.
Yeah, Pierre is um,
One of these days, Pierre is going to show up. It's going to shock the hell out of everyone.
because everybody thinks that he's fake.
But you know what's going to happen? People aren't going to believe that it's Pierre.
People are going to think, here's what people are going to think. They're going to think that we got one of our friends to come on the show with us and pretend to be Pierre. And that's going to hurt. That's going to hurt my feelings, and I know it's going to hurt Pierre's feelings.
Yeah. That's what the accusation will be.
That's what the accusation will be. People have said it already. People have said that, that they don't believe Pierre is real. They think Pierre is just some inside joke, just like a running gag. And I mean, come on.
Put that much effort into something that's not even real.
It's not even that funny. Would we really still be doing this?
It's kind of exasperating at this point that he still hasn't shown up.
This is episode 30.
Although, to be fair, we've only done 29.
True.
Back when we were committed to the monthly schedule and missed one, so you skip the numbering.
It's the main reason why I'll probably never own a comic book publishing company. What's this month's issue? I don't know.
Well, neither do they. All the stunt numbering, issue 0, issue 1/2, issue 1,000,000. When the 0 Hour came out as a 5-issue miniseries, and they weren't numbered 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They were numbered 4, 3, 2, 1, and 0.
0, yeah, I know. I remember that.
That was 25 years ago, and that seemed like an incredible cutting edge thing. And it actually threw me. Stunt numbering was a rare enough thing. Like issue 4, where's the other 3?
Yeah, how have I missed this?
Yeah, stunt numbering. Yeah.
I know it's you have to actually, to figure out how many issues of a particular comic have actually been published, you would have to go back and count them, which I'm pretty sure the whole reason they gave them numbers in the first place is so you wouldn't have to do that.
Right. But they like, if with Action Comic they say special 1000th issue, I'm pretty sure it's actually the 1002nd issue, because I know you had a 0 and I know you had a 1,000,000.
Right. Those don't count. Oh, so I didn't have to buy those? Oh, no, you had to buy them. They just didn't count.
The whole point of numbering them is just so that you knew which one from the next, but whatever.
My favorite is, because I mean, it's always like this, the 0 Hour thing and like the 1,000,000 thing. Like that's like, okay, they're just like making numbers up for a promotion or whatever. But I think Spider-Man did this, and there might have been another long-running comic that did this too. But Spider-Man was one of the comics that they started the numbering over at a certain point. They went to volume 2, and then when someone noticed that they were getting close to like the 500th issue, counting both volumes, they switched back to the old numbering. And it was wait a minute, you can't do that. You started over.
DC did that with, when they talked about renumbering with 1 back when they did Christ on Infinite Earths, but they didn't do that for all the titles. They did that with the New 52, which was, as far as I can tell, pretty terrible. And after 52 issues, they popped some of the long-running ones, I think Action, possibly Detective, back to the old numbering system again. Yeah. So it went to like issue 900, and then it went over to 1, and then it's 953 or whatever the numbers were.
Yeah, I mean, do people? Here's the other thing. Do people really care about the numbers that much? I mean,
I like the idea of there being 1,000 issues and Action Comics 1,000, but once you screw that up and you change the numbering, there's not much point in going back.
Yeah, if you were committed to having an issue 1,000, then you should have kept counting. You shouldn't have just started over.
But the comic book companies are so terrified of long-running established titles. They want everything to be a fresh start. I mean, in the last 10 years, I think there's been like 6 Justice League #1s.
Yeah.
Like every time you turn around, it's like, why even bother numbering them? Well, this is the December 2019 issue. Bam.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is like, if you just wrote stories that were accessible to new readers, You wouldn't have to be paranoid about, oh, gee, it's issue 184. Is anybody going to want? Just write stories that anybody could pick up, and of course, there's going to be shit that they won't know.
And here's another
but
thing.
They'll be able to follow what's going on.
A comic book these days is basically 44 pages. It's 22 of story, a front cover, and 21 of advertisements.
Yeah.
So it's basically 50% advertisements. Don't charge $4.99 for that.
How much would it be without the ads? Like, it's full of ads, and I'm still paying $5 for it.
Yeah, comic books have basically priced themselves out of existence. I mean, they're still hobbling along, and the trade paperback market is what is keeping them alive in a large part. But also, it kills the issues. People are like, "Well, I'm not going to buy the issues. I'll wait for the paperback."
Yeah, which I'm guilty of that. That's what I did for years. I haven't bought a single issue comic book. God, probably since like 2001, 2002. It's been a very long time.
The number of actual comic books that I have purchased have acquired the individual issues. Basically, I stopped when the New 52 started, and I'm like, they restarted everything, and I was at the point where I was having trouble with it financially too.
Yeah.
And because they're so damn expensive. And then they do the crossovers to make you buy more and so on. And I didn't have a lot of money for it. Then they started over, and it was the typical, I see that as disrespect for fans when they do reboots, when it's like, you know what? All the stuff that you've cared about for the last 25 years and put your time and effort into and followed, we don't care. We're shit-canning that and starting over.
Yeah.
All that's disposable. That's why I actually, with the Spider-Man movies, when Tobey Maguire and Raimi left and they started over with Andrew Garfield, I still have not seen those two movies because I just didn't care. It's like, I've seen this before. If 3 movies is an insurmountable backstory that you can't continue with, then I'm like, if they were able to dispose of the last one this season, they'll dispose of this one just as quickly. And that's kind of what happened.
Even quicker. He only got 2 movies. Toby at least got 3 movies.
Yeah. I mean, even Holland's gotten more movies than that now. Not just to him, but he's appeared in 4 or 5.
Yeah. And I think they're definitely making 5. At least one more. Yeah.
Yeah. He's appeared in 5, right? Because he has 2 movies, 2 Avengers, and the Civil War.
Yep.
Yeah. So
he's the new King
already
of
the record set. Yeah.
He's appeared as Spider-Man in more films than Christopher Reeve appeared as Superman. Think about that.
Of course, Christopher Reeve is a title character in all of his movies. Even though he only got like 3rd billing in the first one.
Yeah, he's like, oh, and this guy,
Brando, Superman. Hackman, and also the title character.
Yeah. Don't get attached to Brando. He's not going to be in it very long. We had to put him in it to get funding.
Truth in advertising.
Nobody.
It's not the 1,000th issue. It's just issue number 1,000. Not the same thing ananymore.
Yeah, they're not the same thing anymore. Yeah, I don't know. I was talking about this with somebody earlier. One of the things.
What, you talk to people other than me?
Every once in a while. One of the things that because like in many ways it's like the best time ever to be a fan of superheroes because they're everywhere and they're finally like mainstream things. It's not like a weird nerdy niche thing anymore.
It used to be a weird nerdy niche thing where one movie would come out like every 4 or 5 years, and you would hope that it didn't suck out loud.
Because that was the only one you were getting this year. Yeah.
Yeah. And now they've become like, horror films or romantic comedies. Like, if you didn't like this one, wait 3 months.
Yeah, there's another one. Don't worry.
Although speaking of streaming services, I fear that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to be hurt a little bit by the fact that a huge chunk of it is going to be on Disney Plus rather than actually in the cinema.
It's the Marvel Disney Plus universe.
Yeah, I mean, are they talking about, like Black Widow's getting a movie and that's theatrical release. Hawkeye's getting a movie, but isn't that Disney Plus?
Yes, actually, I think Hawkeye's is going to be a series, but yeah,
okay. And then the new Captain America. We've got a Black Captain America, but he's also going to be a series.
That's a series,
behind a paywall again. That you're not going to. So he's not going to be on the big screen. So huge stories, huge build up, huge universe building is going to be locked behind the paywall. And if you want to just go and see the movie, then
Right.
I fear that the movies, you're either not going to understand what's going on unless you watch the stuff on Disney Plus, or
Yeah.
else it's going to stand alone, and then all the stuff on Disney Plus is just going to be ignored for the sake of
Which is probably how it's going to go for the big movies.
I would think so.
Because yeah, well, the thing that the one thing that I sort of mourn is that because superheroes have become synonymous with blockbusters now, we're probably you're never ever going to see like a small scale Batman movie, or a small scale Superman movie. Like you watch like the old episodes of like the George Reeves Adventures of Superman show, right? And that's such a great show. And it's so small scale. It's like he's Superman, but he's like fighting gangsters, and it's like you think of Superman today and like, shouldn't he be like on other planets? Shouldn't he be like fighting unkillable god beings? No, he's fighting gangsters. you know he's catching bank robbers and looking for kidnappers, and he wants to save the
Yeah.
kid that they kidnapped. And it's like
In,
there's
in,
something so charming about that.
in
And
action, yeah, in Action Comics #1, wasn't there a call to the paper about wife beating at whatever
yeah,
address, and
yeah,
Superman shows up and puts the wife beater through a wall?
yeah,
And that's what
yeah.
Superman did.
Superman's like, I'll take care of this.
There's a wife beating. Send a reporter. That's a different era.
Yeah, right, exactly. I am
I'm just standing there taking notes over the. Oh,
that's one of the reasons. That's one
I
of the
didn't mean to
reasons.
interrupt your story there.
Well, no, you actually one of the reasons why I am very excited about the prospect of the current TV Superman on the CW's shows getting his own show, because I hope that there is at least an opportunity there to tell smaller Superman stories in live action, because those are some of my favorite Superman stories, and some of my favorite versions of Superman are where he's capable of saving the world, and he can save the world if called upon to do that, but that's not all he does. Like if you have a big event movie like every 2 or 3 years, for some reason the studio has thought they've decided, well, it has to be the fate of the universe hangs in the balance. You can't just come up with a good, entertaining story and make a good movie about it. You have to, it has to be the Avengers save the world. It can't just be,
or half the universe.
or half the universe, right?
Spoiler alert.
I'll tell you what. I mean, the Spider-Man movies have been pretty good about that, but even those, there's so much spectacle, and they're so epic in scale that it feels like, I mean, there's just never going to be like a friendly neighborhood Spider-Man.
No.
It's always going to be like Spider-Man saves the world. And that's great as long as the movies are good. I'm not going to complain too much, but it is a shame that like that small scale, like Fleischer Brothers, George Reeves, crime fighter Superman, is basically gone in terms of live action, unless they bring a little bit of that into the new show with the Arrowverse Superman.
Which wouldn't be a bad thing.
It would be a great thing. It would be a great thing.
This is what Superman's supposed to be, instead of, making out with his new girlfriend above the dust and bones of the dead.
I have said, and
You're Superman. Shouldn't you be trying to dig people out of wreckage at this point?
Can't you hear people? Like, can't you hear people dying like a few feet away?
Although, whether you're talking about spectacle, I've said this before, some of the scenes in that movie that were so ridiculous were largely the CGI team sort of throwing the actors under the bus. Like, when Perry White's looking out the window of the Daily Planet and the city's getting clobbered for like 15 minutes before he's like, time to go. It's like, have you been watching this? I mean, he had nothing to react to. He had no idea what he's looking at. But any rational human being who saw the first 10 seconds would be like, we should go now.
Yeah, right. And they would probably be really upset emotionally.
Yeah.
I mean, just think of how everybody felt during 9/11. People weren't like watching it going, oh man. Like it was devastating. And can you imagine if you're Perry White and you've worked in a major metropolitan newspaper for your whole life, and there you are standing in your office in the Daily Planet, and you look outside and Metropolis, your city, is being pulverized. Yeah. You're going to
entire blocks are just leveled.
Yeah.
And it's like,
we better go. Like, I know you were Morpheus and all. I know you're cool. I get that. But yeah, but you're right. I do think it's a case of the actor doesn't know what it's going to look like,
Right.
And
They had that
and
problem.
they're being directed by Zack Snyder, who is the worst. And he was probably describing the scene for Lawrence Fishburne, like, yeah. Look out the window, and like they're outside and they're like punching each other and flying around, and it looks really totally awesome. And and you're Lawrence Fishburne looking at this guy like, are you 14 years old? This is my motivation as an actor. Ooh, they're knocking buildings down, they're punching each other. It's fucking sweet. God, just.
But didn't the Star Wars prequels sort of have the same problem, since everything in that was done in front of a green screen? I don't think they built a single set for that movie.
Yeah.
Any of the 3 movies.
Yeah.
So you had actors who had to react to things that weren't there and then were put in later, and so they're not reacting honestly because they had nothing to react to. So there's a dissociation between the actors and the CGI.
Yeah, exactly.
And not like a bad green screen border, a dissociation like you should be reacting differently, and you would if you had any idea what was going to be there in the final product.
Yeah, exactly. Well, it's just like, even when you have real props to react to, if your reaction has to be to a special effect that is added later, if you don't have a director who is able to communicate that to you so that you can use your imagination in the right way. Like there's a shot from one of the making of documentaries of Star Trek Nemesis that was used in one of the Plinkett reviews, where it's Stuart Baird, who is an excellent editor, who was hired to direct. And it's the scene in, not the beginning of Nemesis, when the thing opens up in the Romulan Senate and they all turn into mummies and crumble to dust.
Yeah.
And it's the scene where the thing opens and like the green stuff comes out of it. And that's all a special effect, but like the actual thing is there. And Stuart Baird is getting ready to shoot a shot for this scene, and he's like just tapping the thing on the table, and he's like, "You're all looking at this, and it's amazing." And I'm like, if I was an actor, I'd be thinking, yeah, but like amazing how? Like amazing scary? Amazing like it's an angel? Like amazing, I can't believe how beautiful it is? Like what's amazing?
Yeah. Wow. I hadn't seen that, but
there's just some guy going, look over here, and it's amazing. Okay. I'm just going to look and see how everybody else is looking. Okay, I guess that's what we're doing.
Yeah, I'm sure that when Harrison Ford was learning how to act, he never practiced against somebody 7 foot tall guy in a furry suit, but there was something there to react to.
When the guy in the furry suit showed up, yeah,
and you can interact with it. It's not. This is an amazing prop.
Yeah,
it's Trump's argument. This is the most amazing.
Just imagine this tennis ball on a stick is the galactic overlord of the universe.
Okay. But in a good way or a bad way?
Is he like a good guy, a bad guy? He wants to kill half the people in the universe. Okay, so bad guy. That depends on which half you're in, I guess. Maybe.
Okay, I'm not sure I've got it.
Yeah, we should wrap this puppy up, I think.
That ending was a bit random even for us, wasn't it?
Oh, yeah. Well, I guess, but we always end up talking about nerdy shit, and
Yeah. I'd like to think that's part of our charm, but that's probably what turns some people away.
That's probably. This weekend, the Crisis on Infinite Earths TV crossover begins. I am super looking forward to that. I am way more excited about that than I have been for any DC Comics based movie in close to 10 years. Yeah. So
I mean, I understand Shazam was good, but I haven't seen it.
Shazam was really good. Shazam was really good.
Wonder Woman I thought was good.
Wonder Woman was good. Yeah. Shazam I thought Shazam was better from beginning to end. Like it was a more consistently good than Wonder Woman was. I thought Wonder Woman kind of almost lost me toward the end. Like when it turned into like, oh, now she's fighting a CGI monster for what felt like about half an hour. I was like, oh, okay. I guess this is just the way it has to go. But Captain Kirk was in it. That was cool.
Anyway.
Yeah. Anyway,
I distracted us on the outro there.
Yes. Well, yeah. So, Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays to anybody who celebrates a holiday who's watching this.
Yeah. And if you're upset when people say Happy Holidays because you think only your holiday matters, all holidays matter.
Your holiday is part of the holidays that I am wishing you a happy for.
I am wishing you a happy. I like that.
It's being inclusive. I can't read your mind and tell, like, oh, you only celebrate Christmas, and you get really upset if anybody says Happy Holidays to you.
I
If
say
I,
Happy Hanukkah, and it's
yeah,
like I celebrate Christmas. It's, go to hell.
yeah, oh, fuck you.
Yeah. All right. On that insightful note, so have we solved the problems of truth in the world?
No,
That's what I was going with
I
too.
no, we haven't, but we sure did talk about it for a good long time, didn't we?
Okay. Well, thank you everyone. Thank you everyone for watching. Appreciate your attention and that you care enough to watch us while we talk about whatever random thing came into our head earlier that day. Because
Yeah.
usually we don't know that far in advance what we're talking about.
That's true. And apologies to everyone who tuned in hoping to witness an actual push-up contest. I hope that the title, if you didn't get what the title was in reference to, and you thought you were going to watch a push-up contest, obviously that is not going to be the case. So if you feel as though you were misled, I apologize.
Can you get McPherson out here to do a couple push-ups?
He does the one-handers.
Yeah.
He's a lot stronger than you think.
Like that thing I said before about the NRA people who only do the one-handed push-ups, they need their other hand free to wildly wave around their loaded gun.
Exactly. Of course, I mean, with Jack, it's waving around like a cigarette lighter or something.
I got a Molotov cocktail, and I'm not afraid to use it.
Molotov cocktail. I always have one ready.
All right. So thank you. Enjoy your holidays, and we will see you, I would imagine, next year.
Yes. See you next year, everybody. Thanks for watching. We'll see you later.